I've seen a lot of businesses which are profitable that are not valuable, but I've never, ever seen a business that is valuable that's also not profitable. We often get lost in this profit first mindset. Again, not slamming our friend, the author there on profits first, but there's this mindset that we as business owners seek profit for the sake of or in lieu of value. So here's the statistics that rock my world and what led to me writing the book, Your Baby's Ugly.
Welcome to the Profit Answer Man podcast, where business owners learn to scale their profits and cash flow and work less doing it. You built your business to fulfill your dreams and serve your mission. You're the backbone of America, creating the jobs and opportunities that keep our economy moving. And for that, you deserve to be well rewarded. We're Profit First certified. It's the first baby step in a journey we take our clients on, building cash-rich, margin-strong businesses that don't suck the life out of you. Check out the first 13 episodes of the podcast. It's Mike Michalowicz and my review of each chapter of the Profit First book. Around here, we speak cash flow, profit, and practical execution. No accounting jargon, no fluff. Most accountants, they might help you save on taxes, but they'll crush your cash flow and make you look unprofitable. That's not just a poor decision, it's a liability. We help you focus on what you love. And when we partner together, we become a profit center for your business. If we don't deliver a massive ROI on your investment in us, fire us. Want to see how it all works? Watch the video version on YouTube or head over to ProfitComesFirst.com to grab your free copy of the Profit Blueprint book and start making profit a habit. You built this business to serve your mission and your freedom. Let's make sure it pays you back big. Today's episode is a wake-up call for every business owner who thinks profit necessarily equals business value. Our guest is Justin Goodbread. He's a globally recognized business strategist, best-selling author, and entrepreneur who's built and exited multiple 7, 8, and 9-figure companies. He's helped thousands of service-based businesses owners move from chaos to clarity, from profitable to valuable. In this conversation, we're not talking about making more money. We're talking about how to build a business someone would actually want to buy. Because here's the truth. If your business depends on you, it's not an asset. It's a job, and you can't retire from burnout unless you have tons of cash and you're okay. That works. Justin's going to show us how to find the hidden risks, shift from owner-dependent chaos to transferable systems, and turn your business into a true wealth-building machine, or just a more fun business to operate. Let's meet Justin, find out how. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Justin Goodbread. It's great to have you join us today.
Rocky, thanks for having me, man. Look forward to this conversation.
As am I. Can you share a little bit about yourself and your business?
So I'm a serial business owner. I've started and sold 7 companies, taking companies from startup to 7, 8, and 9-figure valuations in my 30 years of being a business owner. But at the root of it, I'm just going to say it this way, man. I'm just a country boy born and raised on a dirt road in South Georgia. I literally am wearing flip-flops right now. I live on a gravel road in East Tennessee. I am country through and through. I love a bowl of turnip greens and just smiling and grinning and saying, bless y'all heart. So that's literally about me, man.
So how's a guy with no shoes end up selling a 9-figure company?
That's a really interesting. I've never had that question before. Thanks, Rocky. So that company was the one who bought my last company. So I started a company, started and scaled it to 8 figures in 49 months. It was acquired back in sometime early 2000s, 2021, I think it was. And then the company acquired me. They said, hey, Goodbread, we understand the way your brain works. Can you come in as a CEO? I went, no, I don't want to be a CEO. I want to, heavy as the head that wears a crown. I've been doing this for a while. I want to break. I want to go play and sit on the beach for a little bit. And the CEO called me and said, would you be the president? And I'll take all the responsibility to scale the company. I'm like, sure. So we took that 8-figure business and doubled it with the frameworks and the methodologies we're going to talk about today in roughly 18 months, and had one of the largest transactions in the financial sector in 2023.
Congratulations.
It was a fun ride.
So let's dig into this and figure out how you did it.
Okay.
But before we do, because this is, I read this line originally and I was like, whoa, wait, what? How can profit not be important? Because here we believe profit and also cash flow is important. But you talk about that being a trap as well.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that because it comes down to what you did, which was sell a company.
Yeah, so I've had the privilege and the honor of working with thousands, and that's not an exaggeration, of business owners from everywhere from what I call checking a truck, which are my brothers out there, riding around the truck, fixing air conditioners, doing electrical work, just in the trades, all the way up to the white collars and doctors and dentists and CPA firms and financial advisory firms. So I've literally had the privilege of working with thousands of businesses, and I've seen a lot of businesses which are very profitable, in the sense that they have good top line revenue. They've kept their COGS under control, cost of goods under control. They have their expenses really well, and they have good revenue margins. And so the net operating income of the business is solid. They may be best in class in the sense that they have 30, 40, 50, 60% margins on this business. But I've seen a lot of businesses which are profitable that are not valuable. But I've never, ever seen a business that is valuable that's also not profitable. So whenever we seek for profit first, in the sense of the famous book that's even behind your shoulder right now, great concept. We all want profit. But there's some statistics which we as business owners, especially in the service industry, different than the retail or the manufacturing industry, we often get lost in this profit first mindset. Again, not slamming our friend, the author there, on profits first. But there's this mindset that we as business owners seek profit for the sake of or in lieu of value. So here's the statistics that rocked my world and what led to me writing the book, Your Baby's Ugly. Right now, there's roughly 30 million business owners in the United States that have employees. And we support, as the small business community, we support a significant portion of our national economic GDP. By the way, around the entire globe, it's that way as well. Small business owners are the backbone of our society. But in the business owners that own these businesses, roughly 80% of our net worth is tied up in our business. Because if we were to compare ourselves as business owner to our counterparts, the W-2 employee out there, they have been saving in their 401k for years. And their 401k balances, I've seen it, are significantly, sometimes 5, 6, 7, 10x what ours are as business owners. Why? Because we take so much money and energy in order for us to get our business viable. And then when it's viable, we end up wanting to scale it faster. So we pour all of our proceeds back into our company, and we often don't take the money out of the company. And so now we have this business that is providing us a really good lifestyle. The statistic I was writing about with my new book is that the golden design that we want as business owners is about $20,000 a month. $240,000 a year in income is the mean if you're running a bell curve for us business owners in the small business space. And we're like, man, if we can get $20,000 a month take home pay, man, we're golden. We're living a rock star life. And we are. And here's why. Inside our companies, we're also perhaps paying our spouse or significant other. Inside our companies, we're also paying for our vehicle and our cell phones and our health insurance and our travel and everything that our CPA will let us write off, we put through our company. And so when we normalize it, in other words, figure out exactly what the economic benefit is to us, we are making a significant amount of income, both pre and post tax, when they're combined. So if 80% of our net worth is trapped up in our company, ultimately, how do we unlock that value? Well, in order for us to get the value out of there, we need to have we need to have the value where it can sustain our lifestyle. So let's just say hypothetically, we're making $250,000 a year in take home pay, or $20,000 a month. We have another $100,000 in theory of expenses on the low side that we're running through the company. Rocky, it's not uncommon for small business owners to take $400,000 all in. That means we literally have to have like $10 million in order for us to maintain our lifestyle. Well, can you sell your business for $10 million? The vast majority of business owners can't. And so what happens is this profit first mentality is we build our lifestyle up and now we can't sell it. And so what happens, we're destitute. Now we're tied to this Franken business that we created, this monster, and we're tied so it provides our income. And we can't go sit on the beach for 12 weeks. We can't do it. We can't get away without something blowing up. So if we reverse the methodology, which is why I called the book Your Baby's Ugly, our businesses are ugly from the standpoint that someone's not willing to come in and pay us cash and we can walk away and maintain our lifestyle. So that's why I say value over profit. Profit's not bad. We want profit. You have to have profit. But again, as I said earlier, it's a contrary statement. I stand behind it. I've written about it. It's a lot of fun. It's proven. I've seen a lot of companies who are profitable but not valuable. I've yet to see a company that's valuable but that's also not profitable. So if we focus on value, profit follows.
And I agree with you. There are different ways to do this. Some businesses are probably very difficult to get the value out of because they're solely dependent on the business owner. And that's their business model and that's the way they built it. If you've got ways of changing that, I'd love to hear it. It's also the reason I tell people, hey, you need to take money out of your company. Yes, we can reinvest, but B, take money out of your company, go put it in the 401k, because guess what? Just like buying the truck, you get a tax deduction. So you can keep the money and get a tax deduction. And invariably, if you get punched in the face in your business, you do have a nest egg over here, and that nest egg will allow you to that retirement. But if they're keeping the company and it's highly profitable but not valuable, what I tell them is, let's go put a good operating manager in there, and you can pay him, and you can still do it. But how do you do that? Let's say we've got a business that's highly profitable, but it's stuck on the owner. And maybe even the business model requires it to be stuck on the owner for different reasons. How do we make that valuable then?
So I hear where you're coming from. I would challenge you a little bit in the sense that I believe every business can move from what's called a lifestyle business to a value creation business. I believe that with all my heart. And I've been challenged about this, and people, that hire us to our coaching program, we show them how to do this. It's difficult it's not easy for every business to scale, but it can be done. And so let's define our terms so we're all speaking the same thing. A lifestyle business is one that's dependent upon the owner. The owner has been, by default, by their circumstances, by leadership, by whatever reason, by licensure, whatever, has created a system where everything is dependent upon them. They're at the epicenter of their business. Okay, that's a lifestyle business. Lifestyle businesses are very, very good in the sense that they often provide high income. And if you're running a lifestyle business that provides high income, then absolutely, you want to take as much money out of that business as can sustain without harming the business and diversify it as based upon your risk tolerance. Again, talk to your tax and legal professionals for that particular strategy. But then a value creation business is no different. I've seen value creation businesses from the white collars to the blue collars, from every stripe and flavor. I've seen multi-level marketing businesses turn to value creation business. I've seen individual coaching businesses where the coach has the IP, the intellectual property, and they become value creation business where the owner of the business is not there. It all depends on how bad the owner wants to achieve their goal. Here's where it matters the most. And we're going to get to your question, is the time allowed. The time that the individual has to achieve their outcome. For most business owners that I end up chatting with, and I talk to literally thousands, tens of thousands per year when I'm on stage speaking or when I'm doing conference, whenever I'm doing masterminds or through even our social media channels, which has literally millions of impressions per year. Whenever we're talking to business owners, most business owners are in their 40s to 50s, 60s, and they realize, oh crap, I don't have enough money set outside my business. And the reality is Wall Street's not the answer for those individuals. You can't save your way with a 10, 12, 13% return, depending on what Dave Ramsey's number is this week. You can't save your way to that particular outcome through Wall Street. Real estate, okay, there's some benefits there. It's all about timing on real estate. So typically, what we call the wealth gap, the delta between where you're at today and what your net worth needs to be for you to be financially free, financially independent. Now, when I say financially independent, again, qualifying my terms, I'm saying that comes hell or high water. It doesn't matter what happens in the economic system. It doesn't matter with AI disruption, whatever. You have enough money in your bank account to live the lifestyle you want without having significant risk. That's the simplest way I can say this. So we often describe this wealth gap. I actually write about it in my book. And for late business owners, for those who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, who only have maybe a 10 or 12-year window, to significantly save their way to their freedom number is pretty stinking hard. Pretty hard. So often the way that you can achieve the success that you desire is to transform your business or your practice or whatever type of structure you have from a lifestyle business to a value creation business. Now, how do we do it? That was your question. How do you lay the foundation? So how do we do it? The secret is the old saying, work on your business versus in your business. And that sounds good. It rolls off our tongues like butter. For those of us who are on the radio or anything else, we get it. I hear it. And I want to beat my head up against the wall because that doesn't answer the question. How do we answer the question? In your business, you have 8 areas. Every business, it does not matter the type of business. You have 8 areas of your business. Every business to be profitable has to have these 8 areas. So let me lay the 8 areas, and then we'll ask some question around. Then we'll lay the frameworks to help the audience and help them achieve their ultimate success. So the 8 areas of business is planning. Where are you at? Where are you going? Planning. Every business is doing planning. Then there's leadership. Even if you have no employees, there's leadership. Even if it's a mindset thing, you're leading yourself. You're leading your family. You're leading your friends. There's leadership involved in your business. Sales and marketing, 2 different components. That's 3 and 4. 2 different areas, 2 different purposes. Operations, often talked about Factory Over Your Back Shoulder. Gino Wickman, a buddy of mine, wrote the book Traction Over Your Back Shoulder right there. Great book. I see 10X is easier than 2X. Benjamin Hardy and I were on stage together not too long ago. He's talking about operational efficiency. Okay. You have the people component. That's our employees. That's number 6. So far we have planning, leadership, sales, marketing, people, operations. 6 different areas so far. You also have finance, which is profit first. You got to make sure your financial acumen, that's pro formas, that's forward projection, that's a.k.a, accounts payable, accounts receivable. And then you have the legal. That's the risk mitigation side. Insurance typically falls into the legal. So every business has these 8 areas. But what's common about a business that does not have value is that the owner sits in the very middle of it. They have a team. Perhaps when they have 3 or 4 or 5 or 15 or 30, 40 employees. Doesn't matter the size. And they're scattered across the operations of the company, different areas. Rocky, you'll get this example. And I grew up in the South many years ago whenever health and safety was not as prominent as it is today. And we had this crazy thing called a merry-go-round. And you sit on the merry-go-round, and we us kids would get on it, and we get Bubba. Everybody maybe knows a Bubba. We had a guy named Bubba. His little name was Bubba. Bubba was Bubba. He was big. He was like 6'2", and I'm like 5'2". Bubba was 300 pounds. I was like 100 pounds soaking wet. And all of us kids would be on the opposite side of the merry-go-round as Bubba. And whenever we get that merry-go-round going really good, we were all fine until Bubba fell off. Whenever Bubba fell off, that merry-go-round started wobbling and started throwing us all out. The business owner is no different. They're sitting at the center of the business, and oftentimes they build the merry-go-round, their business, those 8 areas of business where they're wobbling. They're dependent upon something, ultimately themselves. So in order to scale value, the business has to totally remove the owner from the center of it. The business has to operate without the owner. And when you do, now there's an asset that somebody will look at and say, hey, here's a proven framework that we want to pay you for. That's how we transfer them.
So how do you get them out of the middle? Because that's where they struggle. They're like, I'm working. I don't have time to plan. They don't even have time to put in EOS. They don't have time to implement profit first. They don't have time for anything. They're too busy keeping it from wobbling apart.
Well, I disagree with your premise in the fact they don't have time. They have not made time to do the difficult work. You've made time to do the hard work. You haven't made time to do the difficult work. But I hear you in the sense. So here's the reality. So I give this example, and I think I'll also say, yes, we understand this. I have 3 children. My daughter, she goes to college about an hour and a half, about 90 minutes from my house. If I got a phone call, okay, and I got a phone call from the school, and they said, hey, Justin, your daughter, Savannah, was just hurt in a car wreck. She's at the hospital. She has 60 minutes to live. If you want to see your daughter again, you better be there. Hey, Rocky, let me ask you a question. You and I mean, we're bros here. Do you think this country boy is going to be at the hospital within 60 minutes? As my dad used to say, you can bet your sweet bippy I'm going to be the faster than that. Why? Because the calling or the purpose of my intensity is directly tied to the desire that I have, right? The reality is for the business owner is they don't see a way out. They don't want it bad enough. Because if you want it bad enough, and my grandma used to say, son, you clean a horse stall out with a fondue fork because somebody paid you enough. Because that's what the business owner is lacking is we get caught up in the busy and the hard work. We're not willing to do the difficult work. Ultimately, what I say is we put our hands on the steering wheel and we want to be in control. We want to be in control because, and I'm the worst, friends, I'm the cardinal business guy. If I can drive the car, Rocky, man, I know we're getting there because no one's as good as me. No one can sell my product as good as me. No one can see the customer as good as me. No one knows the problems as good as me. I know where the skeletons. I probably buried them there in the backyard. I know because it's me. It's my business. The reality is that our own stinking pride gets in the way as business owners. And I know I'm talking to the truth here. And I know I'm stepping on toes, friends. I'm just trying to help you. If you want it, whatever it is bad enough, you want your business to be worth $5 million, it'll be there. But you know, just like I'm going to have to break the laws to get there. I'm not saying break the laws. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get to my daughter. You're going to do whatever you have to do to reach that outcome, including taking your hands off the wheel, including not being the best salesperson, including not being the face of the company. And it is freaking hard to do, but it's not impossible. So a part of our mindset is we don't think it's possible. And if we shift it from this mindset, this is what my new book's about, belief. If we actually get crystal clear on what we want and our belief is eternal enough, and we realize our calling and the outcome of said objective, the said goal that we have, if we can get crystal clear on that, just like I mentioned with my daughter, if I want to see her one more time, my example, before she goes to see Jesus, then you better believe I'm going to do what I got to do to get there, Rocky. Same thing is true of business owners. We just don't get that intensity and we don't get that clarity so that we're willing to charge hell with a water pistol.
I sometimes say to business owners, you have to let your business burn, which means the problems that occur need to burn without you touching them. And the reality is most of them are just going to burn out without much of an issue. Very few problems are life-changing or, are going to, granted, there are some things that might ruin the business. I'm not talking about that, but the day-to-day fires you're putting out, most of them, if you stop fixing them, would fix themselves. Am I correct in that assumption, or?
It depends on the quality of the team. And if you've hamstrung your team and they have been seared and they don't have the authority or the responsibility to move forward, then I would agree with you on that premise. I mean, if you've given them authority and responsibility and they can move forward and your action, they have some sort of a framework, then yes, it will burn out. If not, then no, you built a business and you're liable to collapse. So how do we then transfer ourselves out of the business? Here's the practical step that works every single time. Every business owner has a personality profile. The very first person you hire is a person opposite to you. Look at your spouse or significant other, your mate that you're attracted to. More than likely, your direct opposite. That's the first, or that's the employee that ends up going to be your liberation. And just like my example with Bubba and me and my friends on the merry-go-round, you're trying to place your players around those 8 areas of business to where you have harmony and balance across your company. Now, that's easier said than done. This is where from the outside, a coach can come in like yourself and they can see the imbalance of your business. They can say, hey, you as a salesperson have a bunch of salesperson, but you don't have any financial or operators over here. You as a leader, a CEO type, an alpha like me, man, Justin, you're really good, but you don't have Emily in your business. You don't have these S personalities that can jive through and do checklists and work through structural functions. So from the outside, we can see it. In a simple word for a podcast is you're trying to make sure that your team is balanced across the organization. If you do that, the second step of this is take a vacation. Now, this is radical. I know this is crazy. And I know when I say this, the lump in your throat's going to go up into your brain. I get that. Okay, here's what I'm going to tell you though. Go ahead and plan 6 weeks out of the company a year from now. Put it on the calendar. Write it down. Tell your team, tell your wife, tell your husband, tell your kids, tell everybody that you're taking 6 weeks off. What's going to happen is you're going to begin majoring on the majors in your company and they're going to expose themselves. The very things that you need to work on as the owner versus your team, those things you can delegate out, those are what you're going to be thinking about just by simply putting that deadline in place. And then when you take the vacation, it's going to be the hardest freaking thing you've ever done in your life. You're talking about turning the phone off. Don't look at the emails. Don't look at the text message. Turn it off. I promise you, if you do this right over a year, you get the right coaching, get somebody looking from the outside in, your company's not going to burn at that point. At that point, it won't burn. You might burn. You might be sunscreen, by sunburn on the beach, not being there before, and your emotions are going to get, but whenever you have that little taste of freedom, that little taste of liberty, you're going to see what a value created business is. And friends, if you want a business that's going to change your life for the rest of your life, if you want a business where an investor is going to come in, they're going to close that gap for you and pay you some serious cash, they got to see you not involved in it. They got to see this business running without you. And the third thing is, as once you step away, now you're going to transfer authority, not responsibility, not accountability, but authority to your team. When you transfer authority to your team, what you're doing is you're creating a stickability for your team. So whenever you do go through an exit, or you go through a transition and you do get that 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20, $30 million check from the exit, when you get that, now your team is going to be there properly equipped to make sure that your earnouts and your clawbacks and all those things to your exit is properly positioned. Those are the 3 steps. Easier said than done. But I'm telling you, if a country boy wearing flip-flops, born and raised on a dirt road from South Georgia, little gravel road can do it, friends. If I can do it, anybody can do this. It's not hard. You just got to have the right structure, the right framework, and the right accountability.
So, couple points there. I notice a lot of people major in the minors.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's a big part of it. Mike talks about that in Clockwork, one of his other books about getting yourself out. You're aggressive at 6 weeks. He's like, start with a week, and it doesn't matter. The point is start. It's interesting you said the opposite person, because I think that was my best business where I was involved with someone else where they were the total opposite, because when we could agree on something, it was gold. And so that is always, but you also have to know to test that. And you also have to know to hire the opposite. Too often, I think we hire people like us instead of people not like us. And I think that's a big part of it. Within those things that you just talked about, where do people struggle the most?
Yeah, great question. So, I started my first business when I was 15. And my mom and dad brought us out of the school system and homeschooled us back when homeschooling didn't even exist. In fact, in Georgia, it was illegal for us to homeschool almost. It wasn't quite, but it was close to it. And we were so worried about that the DFACS, or the Children's Services, is going to go take us away from our parents. I mean, it was, some people consider child abuse back that long ago. Show my age here, Rocky. And they trained me to be a business owner. My first business, we made a lot of money. My brother and I, at the age of 17, I made more money and he made more money than my mom and dad combined made per year for 4 years in a row. Each of us made more money than my mom and dad combined. I have a little grass cutting business. We had profits. We were making money. They're no value. Ended up selling it and made a little bit of money off of it, nowhere near what it could be. So the second business, scaled it, was acquired, sold it. Third business, scaled it, acquired, sold it. But each one of those, I had high income, but no value. And the income was there, but it was built around me. And then I had this commitment that I made to myself, Rocky. I was sitting in a Zig Ziglar conference at the age of 19. And it's a small little conference. There were about 200 people in the room. I was the youngest one there. Most people were in their 40s and 50s. Listen to our powerful late friend of late, priming the pump on the stage. You can see him in your mind's eye, And he stopped in the middle of his example, priming the pump, and he said, I'm going to do something never done before, in his Southern Texas accent. And he said, I'd like you to take a sheet of paper out, write down 3 of your wildest dreams for yourself in 20 years. Now, I never heard him say this anywhere else. In that moment, I swear it was God ordained for Justin Goodbread at that moment. So literally, Rocky, I can remember, I literally said, he said, write your number 1. And I can remember at that point, I literally wrote down, I'm going to marry a smoking hot girl soon. Number 1, boom. And my buddy beside me is like, you've lost your mind. Number 1, marry a smoking hot girl. Literally on the page. Number 2, write New York Times bestseller. Because 2 weeks before that, my college teacher had told me that I'm dumb as a box of rocks. And my response was, no, I'm going to write New York Times bestseller. Hadn't got that yet. I got a number 1 Wall Street Journal bestseller, Your Baby's Ugly, and an international bestseller with The Ultimate Sale, but not New York Times. But the number 3 I wrote down, I'm going to be worth $10 million by the time I'm 40. Why 10 million? Here's my shallowness of my logic, Rocky. He had one more zero than a million. Why not? If somebody can get $1 million, I can get 10, put another zero on the end of it. I had no idea. So fast forward now, here I'm at 36, and I'm going to come to your answer right here. At 36 years of age, I had started and sold by accident and pure prideful stupidity. Started and sold and made millions of dollars. Made millions of dollars, lost it, and here I am broke. Financially broke. Mentally strong, financially broke. We'd just gone through 7 years of tribulation, hard times, and we've all gone through hard times. And I can remember sitting on a mountaintop at the age of 36, and my buddy said, Justin, I'm broke financially. He had been spent 40 years in the coal mines. And my mind in that moment, I didn't even listen to him. My mind went back to Zig Ziglar 16 years earlier. And I'm like, crap, I've never written a book because I can't spell with a flip. I've never written a book, and I'm nowhere near Decamillionaire. I'm nowhere $10 million or more. What do I have to do to change this? Here's where people get stuck. We often look at what we know to be true. And if what we know to be true at this point has led us to where we're at, and we follow the same syntax or the same reasoning, then we're not going to change the outcome. I had to totally radically change my life. So I'm sitting on the mountaintop, me and my country buddy, we were up West Virginia. And I said, dude, I don't know how to take my life from being broke. We're talking about you couldn't rub two pennies together and get a nickel out of it. It was bad. We were broke, man. We had like five O's between the P and the R. It was bad. Okay. We were poor. We sit there and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find somebody who's done this before. Somebody who's done what I want to do before me. And I'm going to pay them whatever it takes. He's like, really? I said, yeah. He goes, how are you going to do it? I said, I don't know. So I found a guy that had built a business. And built the exact business I wanted to build. Called him up. He said, come sit by the pool with me. He's sitting there with a cigar on, a little robe, looked like he's in the mafia. He said, Goodbread, I'm going to charge you $10,000 a month and I'll show you how to do it. Now we broke, man. We ain't got, as they say in the South, we ain't got a pot to pee in. I mean, we are broke. I'm like, $10,000 a month, huh? I said, how you want me to do that? He goes, how bad do you want it? I said, man, I want it pretty bad. He said, can you taste it? I said, I can. He goes, can you smell it? I said, I can. He goes, then you'll figure it out. You know what? It took me 90 days. I was able to, within 90 days, secure the solution to pay him that 10 grand a month. The answer to your question is we don't get out of our own way because we make our decisions based on the same bad habits that led us to where we're at today. And the only way we're going to change from where we want to be, if we want to radically change, we want to grab more profit, if we want to build a business that's valuable, if we want to change our financial future, our family's future for the rest of our lives, we have to have somebody who's going to challenge our way we think with a proven framework that works with the way we think. Now, I don't work for everybody. I'm intense. I get me. I've lived myself for 47 years. I know how intense I am. But there's somebody out there for everybody who's listening to my voice that has done what you already want to do. There's somebody out there who's not as smart as you who's already done what you want to do. There's somebody out there not as gifted as you that's all wants to do that's already done what you want to do. You just got to find them. And if they have a proven framework, they've shown others how to do this, pay them whatever they want. Figure out a way to pay them whatever they want and listen to the advice they give that you dislike the most. Not the one you like. Listen to the advice that you like. That doesn't make sense. That's what you need to listen to. That is what's going to change your life. So Rocky, the answer to your question is, where do people get stuck? We get stuck in the same stupid loop, the way we process that led us to where we're at, and we don't change. We read a book, we read a podcast, and we don't change. We don't have somebody on the outside coaching us and telling us real time, don't go here, go here. Here's why. That we respect and we're willing to have a little bit of belief and a little bit of faith because our dreams are so stinking big that we want it regardless because of the outcome and the results it's going to deliver for us. I know it's a long answer, but that's the reason, man.
Are there some proven frameworks that you really like that are universal to every business or to many businesses?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've never been asked that. Proven means that they have case study upon case study upon case study. Framework for me is simply a process. When I say framework, let's say I want to go from my house in East Tennessee to your house in Pennsylvania. Okay. There's a roadmap that we can follow that says, if you do this, it will get me from here to here. And if there's a detour, we can move around and get to the same location. That is a framework. Okay. So in every book, there is a framework. So if I look at Gino's book, Traction Behind Him, that is a proven framework. Profit First, a proven framework. My buddy Benjamin's book, 10X is equal to 2X, is a proven framework. Even Vernesh's book on scaling up, those are all proven frameworks. Where I think it comes down to is the framework has to resonate with the owner. And the owner has to respect and have proximity to the author or originator of the framework. What often happens is we'll see pick any type of coaching business out there or something, and they're talking to the masses, and it doesn't quite resonate with us. And so we have that little bit of doubt. Like, yeah, that's worked for him, but it's not going to work for me. And our proximity is so far away from the author or the designer of that framework that we can't have them pour in and coach us back to reality that it'll work for anybody. So I think all these different methods will work. Ultimately, I'll tell you the one that I think works for everybody is the Solomon's framework in the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. It's a proven framework. If you believe that God wrote the scriptures, I do, then God's framework is pretty stinking amazing. So that's my framework that I like to follow. And I think the Solomon's framework around business is pretty amazing.
What I have found is a lot of times these frameworks are written for a book. And that's perfectly fine because they have a business that they need to run as well. And depending on who you're actually talking to, again, you talked about how close you are to the source, they become rigid in the framework.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So a classic example of that to me is a Dave Ramsey. very
Absolutely.
rigid
Well
and
said.
framework.
Yep.
I think all of these frameworks work, but you've got to not say, hey, I need to kind of mold myself into the framework. It's, I need to mold the framework into my business because I have certain unique things or certain things that I have to deal with. How do I make it work for me that I get? Think about the 80-20 rule.
Yep.
I'm getting 80% of the benefit because I've molded it to the way I need to do business or the skills I have or the money I have or the market or whatever the reason is.
So here's a proven framework that'll work across every business. Now that you said that, it's simple as this. Find your giftedness and exploit it in the use of others. That is the proven framework. I believe there's 8.2 million people here in the world that Rocky, you and I were uniquely made. I believe that. I believe that your experiences are unique to you. The way in which you process is unique to you. And there's a person, an archetype, an avatar, a persona, whatever term you want to use, that you specifically can serve. And it's probably the person you once were. It's probably the person who has the same type of syntax that you have. You are uniquely made to help others walk through a journey. So we find out who we are. Number one, we find out who we're called to serve. Number two, and then we develop a pathway that resonates with them to move them from their pain or their problem to the payoff they desire. That is a proven framework that works universally across every business, every single time, 100 times a Sunday. Because whenever, it's like this. I like watching various influencers. I'm on the stage with many of them. And oftentimes we look at somebody, picking Dave Ramsey. We look at Dave Ramsey and he's like, all these various things going on right now. And I have mad respect for Dave because he's radically changed my life with this simple 7 baby steps, right? He's been talking about for 35 years. So the 7 baby steps, they work. They work. I don't exactly subscribe to them in full author, but they work as a general rule. What we often see is we say, Dave, man, he's running almost 1,000 employees right now. He's got his hands in everything. So we're going to go out and do that as business owners. We're going to try to post on Facebook. We're going to try to post out here on Instagram, and we're going to try to send a blog out. We're going to try to do all this other stuff because that's what's working for people. Or we're going to hire this person. We're going to hire this person, and we're going to develop this product and this product and this product. And it ends up being noise. I love to go hunting in the woods, Rocky. And just imagine you and I are sitting across the table from you, and I had 2 sources of light in front of us. And I want to shine them in your eyes. One's a flashlight and one's a laser beam. Which one can I shine in your eyes? The flashlight, right? Why? Because a flashlight has no power to it. It illuminates, but there's no intensity to it. For the business owner to have a framework that works, you have to get laser focused on one person, on their top problem, and how you're going to radically change your world. And once you find those things and you develop everything in your company to solve that problem, which is the framework we teach, it was amazing. It works across every industry. It works across every person. And the businesses radically scale. They have more profit than they ever thought was possible. And now they've got a widget that somebody's willing to buy.
Do you find you can do that for every business, or do a lot of businesses then have to pivot where they're focused on to be able to meet that?
Let me ask the question different, make sure I understand you right. Do I find that we can find that one person and that one problem and employ in the business, or do we have to pivot? Am I answering that question right?
Yeah, basically, I'm in X business, but the reality is, in order to achieve those goals, I'm going to have to pivot the way I do my business, look at my business,
Yep.
and maybe focus a bit differently than I have been focusing in order to be able to scale and blow it out like that.
Oftentimes we run a flashlight style business. We try to do too much and we lose intensity. And if we're going to radically scale a business, radically increase profits, radically increase enterprise value, we have to get stinking laser focused. And a laser beam will cut metal. In fact, I just read the other day that up in Michigan, they put out the largest power surge ever out of a laser beam just the other day. It was crazy. I don't even know any more than I just said, but laser beams can cut steel. They're pretty amazing because of the intensity around it. Business owners are intense. We've just gotten broad because we didn't define who we are and who we serve. So in any business, you can take a step back. We do these for our strategic planning days where we take a step back and we get laser focused on who is it that we're uniquely called? Who is that one person? Here's the reality. And I'll bet this right now. And friends, if I'm wrong, go ahead and blow up my Instagram page. Add Justin Goodbread. I'm the only one in the world. Blow it up and tell me Justin Goodbread's psycho. Do whatever you want to do. Have fun with it. But I can almost promise you this. If you had 10, to 15 of your top clients, you'd have your best year ever. If you had 10 to 15 of your best clients, you'd have the best year ever. In fact, I bet if you had 10 to 15 of your best clients right now, you could probably let go 60% of your client base and make the same amount of revenue. Why do I say that? Because if you think about your client segmentation with any company out there, you know who your best clients are. If we got laser focused on why they're our best clients, why are they with us? Why are they paying us? What are they seeking from us? How are we changing their lives? How are we solving their problems? How are we moving them from pain to their payoff? If we got that laser focus and then we begin planting seeds on the right in their syntax, the way in which they process, in the areas in which they are, then what's going to happen is we're going to start collecting those best clients. You know, I have a horticulture degree, Rocky. It's pretty amazing. I went to school to learn how to grow things, right? And I don't know how to grow business. I didn't know I was going to be growing businesses, but I learned this in school. You know, I'm just going to take very simple here. For my country folks, you can follow me. Even my city folks, y'all can follow this. If I walk into my garden here in Tennessee and I put a piece of corn in the ground, I ain't getting okra. I'm getting corn. If I put one kernel of corn in the ground, I'm going to get a corn stalk that's going to have 2 ears of corn on average. And on those ears of corn, it's going to have hundreds of kernels. One kernel is going to give me hundreds of kernels. Here's the principle. In your business, you're trying to plant a whole garden. You're just walking out throwing crap in the woods. You're throwing it on the ground, hoping it'll grow. That's how most of us think. If we got laser focused and we prepared our soil, we planted the right type of corn with the right soil, the right depth, so we knew it would succeed. We watered it. Here's what's going to happen. When you plant that seed, you're going to reap more corn. You're going to reap more clients than what you ever dreamt was possible. But you're not going to reap them the next day. You're going to reap them in a different season. See, if I plant corn in July in East Tennessee, I'm not going to reap it until late September. It's just going to happen. It's a different season. I'm also going to reap more than I sow. I'm going to reap later than I sow. I'm going to reap in a different season I sow. But we as business owners, because we have shiny object syndrome, we've never defined who we're called to serve and how how we find our expertise and we exploit it in the service of others. And whenever because we didn't do that, we go out and we cast our seeds on the ground. We wonder why it don't work. Friends, I can tell you, if you get stupid laser focused on serving your best clients, and that's all you talk with, I've done this hundreds of times. You can take a business that has no enterprise value and it can change your family's life for the rest of your life. You can take a business that has no enterprise value or very little profit and you'll have more cash than you know what to do with. You'll actually become rich. Rich means that money's not going to change your lifestyle in any way. You can do that if you get stupid laser focused. But the reason why we as small business owners, people with less than 500 employees, why we hit the glass ceiling is because we want to stay at the center and we get shiny object syndrome. And then we try to serve anybody and everybody because we're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And we didn't design a true business. We designed a job. I'm just being honest, Rock. So that's what I write about in my book, Your Baby's Ugly.
2 comments. One, when we plant the seed and it doesn't grow well, we tend to yell at the seed and not take care of the soil and everything else around it. Just human nature.
Yep.
And 2, what you talked about with laser focus, I know Ben Hardy in his new book, Scaling, talks about it. You must set your floor. And you got to set a floor. You have to have a foundation, because if you don't have a foundation, you can't build. But once you set your floor, you don't go below it. And too often, I think as business owners, we get down into the weeds below where we should be, doing things we shouldn't do. And so staying above that and being super focused. So I kind of agree with both of those things that you said.
I'll give you this last principle. I know we're getting close on time, but here's a simple principle. One day, my dad and I were out swinging. We were trying to jump off this little bluff and grab a rope swing and swing across the river without getting our feet wet. Just a challenge. Just country boys, And we watched all these kids go before me, and his dad pulled the rope back, and he said, and everybody went before me. They jumped out, and when they hit the water, they fell in because they were waist deep in the water. And he looked at me. He said, "Let me tell you a secret." I said, "Well," I said, "Sure." He goes, "You want to do this?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "Aim higher than you think is possible." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Reach as high as you can, aim higher when you think it's possible." So I did. I was the only kid who swung across that lake, not because I was talented, but because it took a little piece of wisdom. Here's your business principle for it. Let's say you're doing $1 million in revenue. What would it take for you to do $10 million in revenue? Because even if you can't do $10 million in revenue, you may hit 5, But if you only aim for 5, you're not going to hit 5. Aim for 10, you'll hit 5 or 6. You never know. You may hit 10. You aim higher than what you think and you build toward that mindset. And then now what's going to happen is you'll end up being farther than what you ever thought was possible. That's basic scalability, but it's only going to come from laser focus and knowing who you are and whom specifically you serve.
I like it. If people would like to learn more about your books, find you, where do they do all of that?
Yeah, so if y'all want to talk trash and have some fun and just live life, and check me out on Instagram. My team and I, we share a lot of fun stuff out there. We have a lot of things that go out on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, all the various social media channels. My website, justingoodbread.com, is where you can check out our free strategy call. So if you're a business owner, you're like, Goodbread, man, I don't know how to do this. I'm stuck. I want to scale rapidly. We have a free strategy call that one of our strategists will get on the call and we'll tell you if we can help you. And if we can, we're relentless in the fact that we'll show you how to make it happen. And the books and everything all like that's on Amazon. They're fun. My new book, man, I can't wait, Rocky. It's going to be a game changer. If you're a business owner, if you're a human that has big aspirations, big dreams, y'all stay tuned. Stay on the lookout. We got some fun things coming up very soon. You're going to hear all about it.
You're coming back for that, right?
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Rocky.
How did Justin's message land? If you realized your business might be profitable but not valuable, and that's important to you, then now is the time to get serious about building a company that works without you. This is what we're always telling our clients. We need to do stuff, but I don't want you to be the one doing it. This is why I help business owners do every day. Whether you need to install profit first, increase cash flow, or build systems at scale, let's make sure your business isn't just surviving, but creating real lasting wealth. That's when the fun begins. You don't have to figure it out alone. Call Justin, call me, call somebody else. Figure out how to make it work for you. And if you want to chat, get on my calendar. The end of the day, I want you to have a profit-generating, value-building machine. But remember, you don't need more resources. You need to be more resourceful, like getting someone to help you do this. Always, always focus on the bottom line. Thanks for listening to The Profit Answer Man, where we believe more revenue doesn't mean more profit, and the bottom line is what really matters. If you're ready to stop living check to check, take control of your cash flow, and finally get paid what you're worth, we should talk. We work with 7- and 8-figure businesses and well-funded startups. If you're a smaller business, check out the Profit Blueprint program. It's a do-it-yourself solution that also can come with my direct guidance in the same level we give our one-on-one clients. When you're ready for results, book a discovery call. There's a link in the show notes or at profitcomesfirst.com. You'll be speaking and working directly with me. In the meantime, grab your free copy of the Profit Blueprint at profitcomesfirst.com. It's the next step to turning your business into a consistent cash flow generating machine. If you'd like to dig more into leading yourself, your company, and building the ultimate life, listen to my other podcast, Richer Soul, where we cover these topics in great depth. There's a link in the show notes. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have an abundant and profitable week.